Coming up on Global Business, Chinese President Xi Jinping travels to San Francisco for the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting. This year's Cross-Strait CEO Summit has kicked off in Nanjing City with hundreds of businessmen from both sides of the Taiwan Strait participating. And the second China-Africa Agricultural Cooperation Forum focuses on China's practices in promoting agricultural modernization in Africa. From CGTN headquarters here in Beijing, this is Global Business. I'm Zhu Junfeng. Chinese President Xi Jinping left Beijing on Tuesday for the China-US Summit meeting and the 30th APEC Economic Leaders meeting. During his visit, President Xi will hold talks with U.S. President Joe Biden on key issues impacting the relationship between the two countries. Meanwhile, the APEC 2023 is underway in San Francisco, where leaders from 21 member countries are convening to discuss a diverse range of topics. Our reporter Zhao Yingfei has more from San Francisco.
Well, for APEC meetings, there are several layers of, there are multiple activities, but two of the major activities, there's a CEO summit and there's also leaders meetings. So basically, there's a summit for the business leaders and also there's a meeting for the leaders of the economic entities. And the topics can cover a wide range of topics, and China has been calling for community for shared future given this context, and that includes several layers, several folds, including building a peaceful Asia-Pacific and building a inclusive and prosperous environment, and also promoting for green development. President Xi is expected to meet with President Joe Biden, and this is first meeting, face-to-face meeting since a year ago in G20 on the sidelines, in Bali on the sideline of G20. But over the past year, although the outcome of the G20 talk was pretty positive, but over the past year, the relationship between the two countries has been overwhelming. But at the same time, for this meeting, China says that China is giving its huge sincerity and playing its role as a responsible country.
China, as one of the founding members of APEC, has played a pivotal role in initiating and advancing APEC's influence in global economic cooperation. APEC encompasses 38% of the world's population and represents approximately 48% of global trade in goods and services, accounting for over 60% of world GDP. China alone contributes 18% to the world GDP and has actively spearheaded initiatives within the bloc, particularly in the realm of digital economy. China endorsed work plan for the APEC Internet and Digital Economy Roadmap has been integrated into the Putrajaya Vision 2040, aiming to bridge the digital divide in the APEC region. It's projected that the digital economy will reach around 70% of global GDP in the coming decade. The Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Finance Chiefs meeting has wrapped up in San Francisco. During the talks, Chinese Finance Minister Lan Fuan gave a speech calling for improved macroeconomic policy coordination, trade promotion and investment liberalization. He also stressed the need to foster close relationship, regional supply chains and build a more open economy in the Asia-Pacific region. Minister Lan also held talks with his counterparts from other member countries, including U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and Indonesian Finance Minister Sri Mulyani. Our correspondent Henry Sabrandi has more from San Francisco.
Well, on this Monday in San Francisco, finance ministers from the 21 member economies of the APEC region are meeting. They've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, the situation in the global economy has changed considerably in the 12 years since the U.S. last hosted this meeting back in 2011. Of course, we had the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of these finance ministers were dealing with that issue for several years. That's begun to subside. So now they have the luxury or perhaps the responsibility of looking at more long-term issues, and there certainly are a number of those. First of all, during this meeting, they're looking at the economic outlook, not only for the world, but also for the APEC zone. Some of the numbers released yesterday were not terribly encouraging. It showed that GDP within the APEC bloc was projected to increase by 3.3% in 2023, but only 2.8% in 2024. So the situation still remains very fragile in this particular part of the world. The finance ministers then turned their attention to three different areas, three priority areas. One of them is supply side, and that's expanding productive capacity while improving resilience and addressing inequality, also dealing with issues like labor supply, public infrastructure, and research and development. Then they looked at sustainable finance. That's the whole climate change affected issue, dealing with energy transitions among these member economies and net zero commitments. Apparently Indonesia and Vietnam have been particularly forward looking in this area. Finally, they're talking about digital assets and the whole issue of crypto assets, stable coins, central bank digital currencies, and blockchain technologies. Obviously a major issue in the years to come, perhaps not something that's dominating their thought pattern right now, but it certainly will as we go forward. So those are the three priorities they've been talking about. So a lot on these finance ministers' plate during these discussions. And of course, overhanging all of this is the relationship between the U.S. and China, because obviously the differences between those two countries, the two largest economies in the world, will affect those other 19 other member economies when you're dealing with tariffs, when you're dealing with export restrictions that the U.S. have placed on some technology to China. That in a lot of ways impacts those other countries and member economies as well. So the more that the U.S. and China can do to alleviate some of the tensions they've had in discussions over the next few days, and particularly involving U.S. President Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping, the more that can be done on that front, obviously, the easier it'll be for the other economies. So they'll be looking to that as well. Hendrik Sybrandy, CGTN, San Francisco.
Green energy officials and experts attending the APEC meeting say the area of sustainable development is common ground between China and the United States. Zero carbon emissions can be a practical topic for the two sides to promote communication amid strained relations.
We need to work together to address climate change and all the sustainability issues and all these other issues. China has emerged to a very significant player, the world's second largest economy. And U.S. and China and Europe need to work closely for this goal of going to zero carbon.
And so that is something that contributes to peace and to a more stable world. I think our reliance on imported fossil fuels has led to instability and led to conflict.
Obviously, China has really led the world in terms of solar production. Is now really taking on a very strong role in batteries and electric vehicles. So there's a lot of common ground there.
When you have this energy crisis, actually you have a lot of opportunities. For example, now China have the largest solar panel wind turbine manufacturing capacity. And then U.S. really have needed this kind of clean power. And both sides actually really can work together.
In this time when we have had struggles between our countries, this is an area that we share an interest and a need and a commitment to the future and generations of the future.
Earlier, CGTN's Wang Guan spoke with Stephen A. Arlings, president of the National Committee on China-U.S. Relations, to get his insights on China-U.S. trade. Take a look.
When you have developed sources, it is not, people say, well, just change sources. Well, it's not so easy. You need qualified suppliers, you need an infrastructure, you need a lot of things. So all this talk of trade decoupling, there has been limited trade decoupling, where if you use China as a supply chain, you've moved to Vietnam, or you've moved to Cambodia, or you've moved to Sri Lanka or somewhere else. That has occurred, but it's quite limited in how it has occurred. The other is a lot of the trade and investment is in China for China. That's not going to leave. You're not going to sit there and put a facility in Vietnam to sell to China. Maybe you'll have a facility in China that will help you sell to Vietnam. So that has continued. It's much more difficult to change a supply chain than political people think.
The International Media Center for the APEC meetings has been open to journalists from around the world in preparation for the upcoming meeting this week. Our reporter Mark New provides us with an exclusive preview of the center.
I'm here at Moscone Center, the site of APEC 2023, where one of the catchphrases has been, APEC is going to be epic. The event is taking place at 3 buildings, Moscone West over there, Moscone South over here, and Moscone North, which we are going to enter. We're heading down to Hall F, where typically there are a lot of tech events held here. Everything from Game Developers Conference, sometimes Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference, and TechCrunch, all held on this floor. Now it has been turned into the International Media Center. And at these desks, working hard to bring you the news, are more than 2,000 accredited journalists from around the world. Matrin John is from Papua New Guinea.
We need to inform our nation of the development, the know-how and the technical aspects of things that will help boost our country's economy.
Guillermo Azabal Chacon says reporting on APEC is extremely important for his country.
The awaited meeting between Joe Biden and President Xi Jinping is so important in Spain also.
And also here at the International Media Center, you'll see that CGTN and CCTV have set up their own studio where live broadcasts and interviews are happening around the clock. And one reason APEC is happening in San Francisco is tech innovation, and that's being featured here at the Media Center. What better way to look at it than take a visit to Meta's booth, where they have the Quest 3, one of the latest mixed reality headsets. I've opened up sort of a crack in the universe or something, and I'm firing shots into space. I may look crazy, but this is pretty wild. Whoa, okay, things are coming at me now. And in the world of technology, there's always one more thing. You got one more thing. Show me that.
Yes, we do. So we have the Ray-Ban Stories Generation 2. These just came out. The cool thing about these ones is that they have AI integrated technology on here. So you'll be able to ask questions like, hey, Meta, what's the recipe for brownies? What's the weather today? And it will speak back to you.
Okay, do you want to put them on, see how they look?
Sure.
Or?
There you go. We're partnered up with the Ray-Ban.
So they just look like regular glasses, right?
They look like regular glasses. The cameras are right here. We also have integrated speakers on here as well. So we can also listen to music, open Spotify. We can also talk on the phone.
And what better finishing touch for the International Media Center than to have this iconic mode of transportation right here on the floor? This, of course, the famous San Francisco cable car, providing a beautiful backdrop and inspiration for reporters around the world. Mark New, CGTN, San Francisco.
Watching Global Business come up next. This year's Cross-Strait CEO Summit has kicked off in the city of Nanjing, with hundreds of businessmen from both sides of the Taiwan Strait participating.
The dynamics of Asia-Pacific economies at play here in San Francisco.
We will delve into their economic interdependence
and uncover strategies for cooperation.
We'll get you exclusive insights into new developments on China-US relations
and important new ties shaping our future.
We speak to policymakers, business leaders,
and influential decision makers.
So you will have a front row seat to discussions and debates at APEC 2023.
President Xi Jinping has hailed entrepreneurs promoting economic cooperation and integrated development between the Chinese mainland and the Taiwan region. The president made the remarks in a letter congratulating the 2023 annual conference of the Summit for Entrepreneurs across the Taiwan Strait. He urged the delegates to keep national interest in mind and promote peaceful development of cross-strait ties. The conference opened Tuesday in the eastern China city of Nanjing. Our reporter Zheng Yibing has more.
The annual event draws great attention as this year marks the 10th anniversary of the establishment of the Cross-Strait CEO Summit Council, both in the mainland and Taiwan. The mainland's top political advisor Wang Huning read out a congratulatory letter from Chinese President Xi Jinping, saying the mainland will continue to promote economic exchanges and cooperation across the Taiwan Strait.
It is hoped that business people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait will uphold the interests of the nation, follow the trend of history, and shoulder the responsibilities of the times to jointly promote the peaceful and integrated development of cross-strait relations, and jointly create the historic cause of the reunification of the motherland and the rejuvenation of the nation.
The summit comes after the mainland issued new entry-exit policies to facilitate more streamlined cross-strait travel and smoother customs clearance, which will come into effect at the start of next year. And in September, the mainland issued a document supporting making Southeast China's Fujian province a demonstration zone for integrated development across the Taiwan Strait. The summit includes business exchanges in all sectors. The participants hope to protect and strengthen the current business framework, create more cooperative platforms, and implement the favorable policies for Taiwan enterprises. And it is welcomed by participants.
I hope that I can gain more business development, and I also hope to know more about the new policies and directions of the whole country for enterprises developing on both sides of the Taiwan Strait.
I think this summit is particularly meaningful, especially at a time when the overall economy is in a slowdown. Both sides of the Taiwan Strait need to step up close cooperation.
This year's theme is integrated development and high-quality development under the new pattern. I hope through this we will be able to engage in more cross-strait integrated exchanges.
Now the summit has entered a new phase with participants from both the mainland and Taiwan stressing more business exchanges, hoping to find new opportunities for people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait. Zheng Yibing, CCTN, Nanjing.
The second forum on China-Africa cooperation in agriculture is being held from November 13th to 15th in southern Chinese city of Sanya in Hainan province. Our reporter Wang Tianyu has more for us from the opening ceremony held earlier today.
The China-Africa Agricultural Cooperation Forum in Sanya has attracted hundreds of attendees from both sides. Government officials and scholars have shared their insights on how China can further help Africa's agricultural modernization.
China plans to create the Scientific Innovation Lines to facilitate extensive collaboration with Africa in the field of agriculture research and development. The aim is to expedite the adoption and implementation of technological advancements. Over the next 3 years, China will train 1,000 individuals specializing in agricultural science and management for Africa.
A total of 94 guests from 38 African countries have attended the forum. They say, in terms of agricultural development, Africa can learn a lot from China's previous experiences in this area.
I think when we talk about the biggest country that has gone through all the stages of development, then it's China. And Africa is also within the stage that China used to be before. So if China has a lot of experiences, pragmatic experiences to share with almost all the African countries, so Africans stand to benefit hugely.
In Africa, most of the time, you find we have products, but that's all. But when you come to China, you find that one product like mango can have many different products. So the new concept nowadays of value chain can actually be learned here in China by African governments.
China has been Africa's biggest trading partner for 14 consecutive years. As 2023 marks the 10th anniversary of China's Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, the overall economic cooperation between the two sides has been strengthened due to the project. Among the 53 African countries that have established diplomatic relations with China, 52 plus the African Union Commission have signed the BRI cooperation documents with the world's second biggest economy. Experts say the initiative has facilitated Africa's infrastructure development in the past decade, and the agriculture sector is one of the best beneficiaries. Wang Tianyu, CGTN, Sanya, Hainan Province.
For more insights on China-Africa Agricultural Cooperation, we're joined by He Wenping, a research fellow at the Institute of West Asian and African Studies of the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. Thanks for joining us. What specific actions does China plan to take regarding its agricultural investment and cooperation projects in Africa?
Well, yes, ever since 2006, the first China-African summit being taken place, the China-Africa Agricultural Cooperation has been put on the very high concern. So we have been doing a lot those very specific action to help Africa to improve the agricultural production and the technical transfer, and also agricultural equipment, those machines, all those things. And also I visited specifically several those Chinese funded those agricultural technical demonstration center in Africa, like in Mozambique, in Zambia. So I've witnessed all those very close cooperation between Chinese agricultural expertise and helping even hand in hand with those African farmers. So it helps a lot for those technical know-how transfer and also improve those agricultural like rice, hybrid rice, like Yuan Longping. Now this time around, African those participants even to to pay the tribute to the great scientist, agricultural scientist Yuan Longping, because that the hybrid rice now has generated great products in Africa, particularly like in Madagascar, in Cote d'Ivoire. Those countries help them a lot to improve those food production.
How does China and Africa agricultural cooperation contribute to the modernization and sustainable development of agriculture in Africa?
Oh, yes, we all know in African countries, this revenue from the agricultural production actually has accounted for very less percentage in Africa's GDP as a whole. But the people involved in agricultural, those farming, agricultural industry actually has a lot. So this is a very, this proportion is not a good proportion at all. So in that case, in order to resolve this food crisis and the food shortage in Africa, and how to liberate those manpower from the agricultural sector and gradually moving to the industrial sector, that's also a daunting challenge for African countries themselves. So with this process, if China's this help for Africans' agriculture, this development can get in improved and then reach some very good momentum, which will help Africa, this GDP development, and also help them to moving from agricultural society and then to the industrial development society.
What benefits can both China and Africa have from their collaboration in agriculture?
Well, of course, this China-Africa agricultural cooperation certainly will be a win-win situation. For China, we have a lot of those abundant experiences for like food production and also value added for how to, making a lot of those agricultural products, like our African delegates just mentioned, saying even one product of the mango. In Africa, maybe just the mango, but in China can come out with even several and even more than 10 different kinds of those mango products. So that is the value of those value added, how to develop its value added, those industrialization of agricultural products. I think for China, we can export and our agricultural those machines, and also very good those agricultural like rice, all those plants, and also like our expertise can also go to Africa to improve the local people's know-how. This is for improving China's this we call big power responsibility, and also to strengthen South-South cooperation and China-Africa, this is shared community building. And for Africa, of course, they will benefit a lot for improving the agricultural technical know-how and how to make this value added chain for the agricultural products. And also they got improved their expertise for doing this agricultural productivity, and eventually they can resolve this food shortage, this challenge.
Thank you so much, He Wenping from the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. Right, during the forum, my colleague Lily Liu spoke to Rosemary Nokuzola Sipa, the Deputy Minister of Agriculture of South Africa. In the interview, they discussed bilateral agricultural cooperation between China and South Africa. Take a listen.
Compared with other African economies, South Africa has probably the most modern, productive, and diverse agricultural sector. However, you're also faced with uncertainties economically and both in terms of weather. What do you think can your cooperation with China do for you in order to tackle with those challenges?
Our relationship is based on trust. The serious challenge is that you have to look and support the commercial farmer. You then ensure that you also focus on rural development, focus on those people who are less fortunate. That's where China comes in, because we will need in rural development, which is my mandate in the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform, and rural development. If we have investment like your production implements in agriculture, they are very key. To till the soil, you need the right equipment. Also the irrigation schemes, they need to be up and running. So China benefits because it's got the technology, it can invest to us.
And also this year marks the 10th anniversary of China's Belt and Road Initiative. How do you think this initiative has helped with agricultural cooperation between China and South Africa?
I can proudly say all South Africans who actually look to a better future actually appreciate this initiative. This new development bank that comes out of the BRICS process since BRICS started, not just because it was launched. The actual launch now was to evaluate how much has been done, how much is to be done. And that was done very well. And we can actually say other countries are joining, which means our effort is the right one to follow. And we also have a big project that would take us years as a country to finish, like your Mzimvubu Dam.
That will do for this edition of Global Business. I'm Dujia from Beijing. Thanks for watching. See you again.